Hey everyone, welcome to my garden. It is officially winter. Last week we had our first frost and it killed off some of our beautiful green plants that we had growing, which is so unfortunate because in today's video I was going to tell you how I was going to harvest our sweet potatoes, and I'm still going to do that, but they look terrible. Just as a forewarning, they're completely dead, but hopefully there's still some potatoes in the ground and they still look good. So I'm also going to tell you about what not to do before a frost, and hopefully you don't make the same mistakes that I do. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so last week we had a freeze come in and it killed several of our plants, namely the sweet potatoes that we had. They were looking so good prior to the frost, and then now they look terrible. So as a forewarning, they look really bad. So here you go. Here is what's left of our sweet potatoes. So they completely died, but the potatoes are still in the ground. They're ready to be harvested. And the first mistake that I made was that I should have covered them up if I wanted to wait to harvest them later. We did buy some sheets from Walmart to cover up the mandarin trees because they're not freeze tolerant. So we had those covered up and they ended up all right, but we didn't buy enough to cover up the sweet potatoes. So I should have bought way more for the other plants. And the second mistake I made is that really I should have harvested these about 2 weeks ago. They were ready to go and the leaves were already turning yellow, which means that they're ready to harvest. But I was like, oh, I want to wait, and hopefully they'll be bigger than the ones I had in the other box that I harvested. And so I was getting a little bit greedy and waiting a little bit too long, and then this is what you end up with. So don't be like me and wait until the last minute to harvest them. So in just a moment, we're going to get our shovels and pull these up and see if there's any potatoes in the ground. So really quick, before we get to pulling out the sweet potatoes, I wanted to show you how the other plants fared in our garden from the frost. The tomatoes look, I don't know, not very good. I think the plant may still be alive. I think hopefully it might get a little bit warmer and they'll be okay, but I'm not keeping my fingers crossed. The cauliflowers that I have don't look very good. I thought they were cold weather plants, but they're looking a little bit yellow. Thankfully, we covered up the mandarin trees, so they're doing pretty good. I was most concerned about these because I spent a lot of time and effort on growing these and I didn't want them to die. They have a little bit of damage on some of the leaves, but overall the plant looks healthy, so I'm very happy with that. And then in this box, the Brussels sprouts seem to be doing pretty well. They, I guess, are cold weather plants, so they don't really have too much damage. Some of the leaves are a little bit more yellow, but they're trucking along. Basil did not do very good. I knew that they were not cold tolerant, and I'll probably just end up buying another plant from the nursery. They're pretty cheap, but I didn't have enough coverings to cover this one up, so this guy unfortunately didn't make it. Otherwise, everything else probably ended up pretty well. The kale is turning a little bit yellow, but I'll cut off those dead leaves and I think it should be all right. All right, so we're about to get started with digging up the sweet potatoes, and there's a few things I forgot to mention. So first of all, the potatoes are very fragile when they're in the ground. So when you dig them up, you have to be really careful with your shovel or your rake that you don't bruise the skin, because if you do, they could spoil. So once we dig them up, we're gonna have to let them cure inside the house for about 2 to 3 weeks, and that'll get them to sweeten up, because you actually can't eat sweet potatoes out of the ground. They have to cure first, and that gives them their sweet flavor. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit before we eat them, but it'll be totally worth it because they are very good when they're fresh from the garden. So let's get started on digging up our sweet potatoes. Overall, potato harvest was a huge success. We had a lot of really big potatoes this year. So here are just a few to show you. We've got all of these right here. They ended up very big and healthy. I'm so excited to eat these. I mean, look at these. These are huge. And then I've been carefully putting them in these buckets. And so this bucket's just filled with potatoes. We also have a lot of small potatoes on the outside here that we're going to kind of sift through. I'll probably keep these small ones and maybe, you know, we can use them and eat them in something, but they still look pretty good. So we had a really, really good harvest. It's pretty crazy because there were only 4 plants in this box and they make so many potatoes, and we're still not done yet. It's starting to get dark here, so that's probably all we're going to do for today. I'll come out tomorrow and go through the box again and make sure that we got all the potatoes in the ground, because they're really everywhere. It's kind of like playing like a find and seek game. It's just like, where's the buried treasure? You got to go find it. So tomorrow we're going to come out and dig up some more, but overall I'm really happy. Sweet potatoes were super fun to grow and grow really great in this area, and they make a ton, and it was a very cheap plant. So I'd highly recommend it if you're in the South and you want an easy crop to grow. Definitely check out sweet potatoes because it was totally worth it. So that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.